Thank you. This is my favorite topic, is geography. James always laughs at me because I became a geography geek and I studied geography. And Montana people know me because I've known them for years and been working on projects. And we're going to talk a little bit how Montana has helped facilitate instituting a lot of our mainstream projects that we have going on right now. But I wanted to talk about the geographic program. It's the basics for the basic information that you need for everything. It's how to do all of our censuses for the American Community Survey, for the population estimates, and the economic census that we do every 5 years. Which I know that this is, we're talking about the decennial, but you realize that all the data that we collect and the data that we use is all based on the geography we do. And it's not every 10 years that we need this data. We need it every year to keep it going, to keep our surveys going, and really give you the best data that you need to keep growing as a community. So what we want to emphasize is that we want to enumerate the populations, we want to collect the data officially, and we want to have accurate, timely data products and trying to do that work. So as we were talking about, the block is the basis for everything. But the block is not where you create the geography. The block is created from the geography. And I think wanted to emphasize is that every time we create these blocks, we had slivers last time, was because a lot of the geographies we didn't get them integrated in time. We had our voting district boundaries and incorporated place boundaries that should have been one line, were ended up being split and making a sliver. So part of what we've been trying to do, and James was talking about during his presentation, is how do we integrate that geography and get those communications moving forward. As you can see from this, that all the geographies feed into that block. When you create that block, that's what you're using for your congressional districts and your state legislative district delineation. So it's important that we integrate and have quality spatial data. So I'm going to talk about our 3 areas of geography that we have, and our first one, which is administrative geography, and then we'll follow with legal and statistical geography. But the administrative geography is where we have the congressional districts and state legislative districts and voting districts. That's where we collect it through the redistricting program. The areas that we haven't talked about is school district boundary. We collect for the Department of Education the Title I funding boundaries. So however you get your Title I funding is through the data that you send to the Census Bureau and how your community responds to the American Community Survey. I don't think people realize that the linkage between how you respond nationally is how you get your Title I funding locally for your school district. So if people are not responding to the boundaries and having correct boundaries, then we're not tabulating the addresses to the correct location. And then in addition, if they're not answering the American Community Survey, then they're not actually getting the appropriate funding to their area. So I wanted to emphasize that the school district boundaries are a critical essence and piece of geography in integrating with the rest of the communities. Legal geographies are defined by some legal documentation, statute, ordinance, or state law. We collect all of these geographies and they're important. The boundary here is actually a physical location of the Pennsylvania boundary. So it's, we find it, we find that if you have legal geographies and locations, it's important to understand how that geography is generated. I can tell you from state to state, there's not a single state that has the same incorporation, state laws, disincorporation state laws or ordinances of how to annex data as the state. There's all 50 states are uniquely different, and then we have to manage that data when we're doing the data collection. And these are all the state boundaries. Keep in mind, we also do collect international boundaries, and we work with the international boundary commissions to do that. Statistical geography. When we're doing the statistical geography, this is defined by our criteria. So all the geographies that we do that are here is that where there's no legal documentation associated. We set the criteria and say, this is our smallest pieces of geography to be able to get data. And I think I wanted to emphasize that this is where we do the blocks and so forth, that the census designated place is a critical piece of geography that people really don't realize how they can benefit from it. I'm going to show you the example that's up on the wall, is that when you think of Las Vegas and the Strip, and that economic base of the Strip there, how much money that strip is bringing into their communities. But it is actually not part of Las Vegas. So the city of Las Vegas is not getting funds or any revenue taxes from the strip because it is not within the city limits. But to understand how much revenue the strip is providing through the economic census and other communities, it has been designated a census-designated place. So now we have an understanding what's happening with that piece of geography that wouldn't normally because there wasn't any legal boundaries around it. So that's a primary example, and it happens all over the country. So a census-designated place is the smallest piece of geography, and you put them in communities where there's no legal boundaries. It's just a group of people they associate themselves. Then you get more information and be able to do data dissemination, data planning. In addition, we also have tribal block groups and regular block groups. And this is how another piece of geography that consolidates multiple blocks, and then it goes into the tracts of data. The other data sets that we collect, along with our boundaries, which are near and dear to my heart, are addresses and streets. We have a national data set of all addresses for all housing units, and then we work with you to try and to update that data. We work with field staff. In addition, we work with the USPS and get their DSL file to update and process our data. So we're constantly making updates. We can't share that data set with you unless you go through one of our local programs that we'll talk about later. We also collect all local streets. And in that data set, in there, we work with you all to try and make sure we're getting those transactions and making sure we have current streets. We use imagery to make all street updates. So even though you've given us a street, when we're doing the updates, we're doing a comparison possibly against the imagery to make sure it's in the spatial location. So we meet our 7.6 accuracy. So the programs we're going to talk about and how all of that data is collected is through the following program we're going to here.